Delete the default cube and add a cylinder. Tap into Edit mode and move the cylinder up on the Z-axis. Select the top face and scale it down. Then extrude out the platform and the second story of the windmill. For the roof, extrude out again, and then bevel the edge of the top face. Here you go into the bevel menu on the bottom left, and change the profile type from Super Ellipse to Custom. With the curve on the bottom you can make your desired shape, although for it to be visible you have to increase the amount of the segments. Now you can further adjust the shape with scaling the roof and adding loop cuts. Tap out of Edit mode and right-click to change the shade to smooth. Press numpad 1 to go into front view, and shift right-click on the center of the roof to place this 3D cursor. Add a cube and go into Edit mode to scale it down. Select the top face, extrude it out, and scale it down on the x-axis. Adjust the placement so it lines up with the tip of the roof. Then select the front face and inset it. Extrude it in and scale it down. Select the roof faces, copy them with Shift D, and separate them with P. Go out of Edit mode and select the roof. Then go back into Edit mode, select everything to scale and extrude it up. Now select both parts and adjust the scale. Go into front view and place the cursor at the center. Add a cylinder and rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis. Then scale it down. Add a cube and scale that down as well. Rotate that cube 45 degrees on the y-axis. Add 2 loop cuts to each side of the cube. Then shift select the first face of each side and press Alt-E to extrude individual faces. Now add 4 loop cuts to each blade of the windmill. Shift select 4 faces on one side of each blade. Then press I to inset them, and Alt-E to extrude them along the normals. Add loop cuts to each of the blades to make square faces. Select one face, press Shift G, and select coplanar. Now repeat that for the backside. Press I 2 times to insert the individual faces, then extrude the faces along the normals, and then press X to delete all the faces. Select the edge of each blade, and then extrude the faces along the normals. Go into Edit mode of the tower and select the edge loop of the platform. Press Shift D to duplicate it and P to separate. Go out of Edit mode, select the loop, and right-click on it to set the origin to geometry. Then right-click again to convert mesh to curve. Go into top view and put the cursor at the back of the tower. Add a plane and rotate it on the x-axis. Then scale it down to the height of a railing. Press I to insert, and then select 2 vertices across from each other, and then in top menu go to Vertex and connect vertex pairs. Then select all 4 edges and press Ctrl B to bevel them. Delete the 4 triangular faces. Press numpad / to isolate the view, and adjust the proportions. Extrude the left side to add a pillar, and then select everything to extrude out the part of the railing. Lastly, select the outer faces of the pillar and extrude out the faces along the normals. Press numpad shift again and then add an array modifier. Set fit type to curve, and then under curve select the loop from earlier. Then add a curve modifier and set the curve object again to the loop. For the curve modifier to work properly, the origins have to line up. Therefore you have to go into the edit mode of the loop and set the origin to cursor. Add another cube, scale it to the right size, and add a loop cut. Select the bottom face and extrude down, then move it back on the y-axis. Now repeat the modifier setup from the railing. Only now you change the offset factor on the x-axis. You may also notice that the support beams are flipped. Therefore, we go into edit mode and turn them 180 degrees on the z-axis. Now you can apply the modifiers and rotate it so it's centered to the front view. For the door, place the cursor to the first floor and add a circle. In the bottom left menu, change the alignment to view. Then go into edit mode and scale it down. Delete the bottom half of the circle and then extrude the bottom two vertices down. Select everything and press F to create a new face, and then press I to inset it. Isolate the view and press K for the knife tool. With A you can snap to a 90-degree angle, so you can connect the vertex with the bottom edge. Then select the two vertices on the right side and press M to merge them at last. Then select the two vertices at the bottom of the arch and connect them with the knife tool. Now press Ctrl R to add 4 loop cuts to the door. Then use the knife tool to connect the loop cuts to the arch. Add a crossbar as well. Now select all the faces of the frame and extrude them out. Extrude out the edge of the back as well, and close the face with F. Now select this loop and bevel it with Ctrl B. Then extrude the faces along the normals. Now select these loops and bevel them as well. Select these faces of the door and extrude them in. Then select the windows and extrude them in as well. Now select these faces and extrude them in to separate the segments of the arch. Lastly, select the middle part of the arch and extrude it along the normals. Now adjust the placement of the door so it doesn't clip through the tower. For the window, go into front view and set the cursor to the second floor. Now add a plane and change the alignment to view. Go into edit mode and scale it down. Isolate the view, add loop cuts to the plane and enable proportional editing. In the top menu, change the shape from smooth to round. Then select the center vertex of the top row and move it up. You can change the size of the circle of influence by scrolling down or up on the mouse wheel. Select all the outer vertices, then press E to extrude and scale them up. Select all the vertices on the right side and delete them. Now add a mirror modifier. To extend out the arch, use the knife tool. Now select the two vertices on the left and right-click to subdivide. Make sure you're in front view and adjust the shape. Now use the knife tool to clean up the bottom left part of the window. Select the frame of window and extrude it out. Check the backside to see if there is these leftover faces. If there are some, delete them. Now select the edge loop and move it back. Now extrude out the window's ledge. And the arch as well. Select the top face of the window and inset them. Repeat that with the bottom face. Now add a loop cut in the middle, and then extrude in the window faces. Select the center faces and extrude them along the normals. Repeat that with the ones to the side. Now scale and place the window so it doesn't clip with the tower. Then copy and place it 2 more times. For the floor, add another cube and press Ctrl 3 to subdivide it. Delete the bottom face and scale down the top face. Add another cube beneath the door for the stairs. Use a bevel modifier to bevel the cube, and then copy it to the side. Change the size of the second cube and add a loop cut to the first one to deform it a little bit. Then copy the cubes and change them up. Select the top cubes, copy, and separate them. Tap into edit mode of the copied cubes and move them to the side. Then add an array modifier, and a simple deform modifier. Change the simple deform modifier so it bends 360 degrees on the z-axis. Then adjust the count of the array modifier so it fits nicely around the tower. Now copy that and change it up so it doesn't look the same. Add a circle and change the fill type to triangle fan and the vertices to 16. Tap into edit mode, insert the faces and delete them. Select everything and extrude it up. Then select the outer faces and extrude them along the normals. Now add a cylinder in the middle, scale it down, and insert the faces. Now rotate and place the wheel so it stands against the wall. To add some detail to the roof, go into edit mode and add loop cuts. Then bevel them and extrude them in along the normals. Repeat that with the second half as well. For the round part of the roof, select everything, copy it with Shift D, and separate it. Then go into edit mode again, and press Alt M to split everything by the edge. Now rotate the faces along the Z-axis. Be sure to set the pivot point to individual and the orientation to global. Then scale the roof tiles up and add a solidify modifier. Then change the orientation to normal and rotate along the x-axis. Tap out of edit mode, set the origin to geometry and scale up the roof tiles to prevent clipping with the rest of the roof. For the roof ornament, add a sphere and extrude out the top part and scale it down. Extrude out the bottom part as well and create some interesting shapes to mix it up. For the roof render, add another circle and change the alignment to view and the fill type to nothing. Delete the bottom half vertices and connect them. Press F to fill the face and use the knife tool to split the face in two. Insert the faces and extrude out the window frame. Then select the faces on the edge and extrude them along the normals. To add some detail to the tower, add a loop cut, bevel it, and extrude it along the normals. To add some bricks to the wall, I'm copying some of the stones from the stairs and place them around the building. For the landscape, add some icospheres to make stones. Go into edit mode and deform them. Copy them and change the scale. For the grass, add a cube and subdivide it with Ctrl 3. Scale it down to the size of a grass blade. And add some loop cuts. Scale down the top face. Turn on proportional editing and move it on the x-axis. Add another loop cut down the middle and move it down. Then copy that blade and rotate it on the z-axis, so you have groups of 3. Copy and place the grass around the ground. You could start with texturing and lighting now, but I decided to add some more detail by making ivy for the tower. For that, I go into edit mode and select all the faces I want the ivy to affect. If you need, you can add some more faces by adding loop cuts and beveling them. After you selected all the faces, copy them with Shift D and separate them. Go to the particle menu and hit plus to add a particle system. Then add a plane, go into edit mode, and model a simple shape of a leaf. Set the shade to smooth, and then go back into edit mode and select the bottom of the leaf. Then put Shift S and put the cursor to selected. Tap out of edit mode and set origin to cursor. Now go back to the emission surface of the ivy, and in the particle menu under render, change it from halo to object. Then set the instance object to the plane. Check the box that says rotation and randomize the rotation. For it to display the change, you might have to tap in and out of edit mode. Then under the render tab, uncheck the box that says show emitter. Here you can also change up the scale and the scale randomness. Now you can go into edit mode and make the ivy seem more organic by extruding out some faces and smoothing some curves. You can also take some parts and copy and place them around the building. Finally, we're going to add a bevel modifier to all the objects. If the bevel modifier isn't working properly, it might be because of doubled vertices. To fix that, you can go into edit mode and press M to merge by distance. That should fix the issue. If you don't like how the bevel looks on the rest of an object, you can also go in and bevel it by hand using Ctrl B. For the backdrop, we're going to add a plane and extrude the backdrop up. Then we're going to bevel the edge. Here you might still have the custom profile enabled. You can just change it back to super ellipse. Then change the shade to smooth and split the viewport. Remove all the unnecessary icons from the left viewport and change to rendered view. Press numpad 0 to go into camera view, check camera to view, and then adjust the camera to your liking. In the render settings, set the engine to cycles and the device to GPU. Then lower the sample size and enable the denoiser. Select the light and play around with the power and the placement of it. To save some render time in the viewport, press Ctrl B and drag your mouse over the camera. Now you can also uncheck the box with the camera to view and hide the grid. On the side menu, go to World and change the background color to black to make the shadows more pronounced. Then copy the light for some edge lighting. Change the color to something warm and lower the power. In the right side viewport, go into Material Preview. Use the Material menu on the side to add a new texture to each of the objects. When an object has too many reflections, you can up the roughness. If you want to use the same material for multiple objects, instead of pressing New Material, just use the drop-down menu next to it. If you want to have one object with multiple colors, you have to add a second material by pressing the plus sign. Then go into Edit mode and select all the faces you want to have the different color, and press Assign. And that's it. Here's my result. If you choose to follow along with the tutorial, I would love to see yours. Have a nice day, and see you next time. Bye!